Good morning, I'm Abheudaya, Shrestha, and these are the headlines of the hour. Nepal Rashtra Bank all set to unveil the monetary policy for the fiscal year 2024-25 today. Policy expected to be more flexible to consider restructuring loans taken by the business entities. Lumini saved from being included in UNESCO's heritage site at risk list. For the moment, 19 countries agree to give time to Lumini to implement necessary reforms. U.S. President Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu hold talks at the White House, make efforts to close remaining gaps in the push for a Gaza ceasefire deal. Netanyahu also meets Vice President Harris. And official opening ceremony of Paris 2024 Olympics tonight. Shrestha from table tennis and Manita Shrestha Pradhan from judo to carry Nepal's flag at the opening ceremony. The Nepal Rashtra Bank is all set to unveil the monetary policy for the fiscal year 2024-25 today. The central bank is scheduled to make public the monetary policy at 12:15 this afternoon from its new building at Samachar, which was constructed after the earthquake. Nepal Rashtra Bank spokesperson Gunakar Bhatta informed that preparations have been made to present the monetary policy today. The Nepal Rashtra Bank had earlier scheduled to unveil the monetary policy last week. A meeting of the board of directors was even held to endorse the monetary policy. However, unveiling of the monetary policy was delayed due to Yuvraj Khatiwada being appointed the Prime Minister's financial advisor. Nepal Rashtra Bank Governor Mahaprasad Adhikari had not presented at the meeting of the board of directors the draft of the monetary policy, which had already been passed by the management group. The monetary policy to be presented by Nepal Rashtra Bank today is expected to be more flexible to consider restructuring loans taken by the business entities, citing a rise in cases of loan defaulting that have led the banks to face increasing bad debts. World Heritage Site Lumini has been saved from being included in UNESCO's Heritage Site at Risk list for the moment. This decision to reject the proposal to designate Lumbini as a heritage site at risk was made during the 46th session of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee held in New Delhi, India. Representatives from 19 out of the 21 participating countries said that Lumbini should be given time to implement necessary reforms rather than listing it as a risk site. India proposed an amendment to the draft proposal, which was supported by the 19 countries. Representatives from Lebanon and Belgium were against India's amendment proposal to give Lumbini time for improvement. Discussion at the session of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee was also held on Wednesday and yesterday on whether to put Lebanon in UNESCO's Heritage Site at Risk list. At the session, representing Nepal, UNESCO representative and Nepal's ambassador to France, Sudhir Bhattarai, said Nepal will commit to implementing UNESCO's directives and suggestions provided by the reactive monitoring mission that visited Lumbini in 2022. Back in 2002, UNESCO had warned Nepal about potential anti-conservation activities in Lumbini and had considered listing it as a heritage site at risk. The government has formed a committee to investigate last Wednesday's crash of the ill-fated aircraft of Saudi Airlines at the Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu. The committee will identify the cause of the crash. Meanwhile, it has been found that, except for the crew members, 17 passengers were allowed to board the aircraft without keeping any record or conducting any security check. Despite being identified as the technical staff of the airlines, their details have not been kept in the record of the airport, while all security mechanisms were also violated. 18 people on board the aircraft of Saudi Airlines, which was to fly to Pokhara for a C-check, died in the crash last Wednesday. The cause of the crash will be identified by the investigation committee formed by the government. However, it has been found that none of the technical staff on board the aircraft were used their boarding pass. According to sources at the Tribhuvan International Airport, it took around an hour to identify those on board the aircraft. While the airport issued permit for the flight to Pokhara, none of the airport mechanisms were informed about the passengers in the aircraft. Sources at the security department inside the airport have said that Saudi Airlines had directly taken the technical staff members to the aircraft from its office inside the airport. Security check, even for the cabin crew, is mandatory before boarding an aircraft. According to a security officer inside the airport, airline service providers can fly their technical staff, but no entity can violate the security provisions. Not issuing the boarding pass for the 17 passengers other than the cabin crew, and not conducting the security check has raised serious questions on the leadership of the Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal, CAN. Saudia Airlines had informed that all the passengers on board the aircraft were its employees, but security officers have questioned about what would have happened if a terrorist had boarded the aircraft in the disguise of a staff. While the airline company has violated the aviation safety protocol, CAN and the Airport Management Department are also under the scope of investigation and action, as they allowed the passengers to board the aircraft without recording their details. Whether it can be the pretext of failure in ensuring timely efforts to extinguish the blaze from the fire engines or any other reason, former AIG Bigyan Raj Sharma has said that action must be taken also against CAN if errors are discovered and proven. Questions have also been raised against the leadership of CAN at the Parliamentary Committee. An official of the Ministry of Home Affairs has said that Wednesday's unfortunate incident was a consequence of the irresponsible act of the department responsible for managing the airport. Pressure has intensified to file cases against the officials of the authority for violating the airport security mechanisms by allowing family members of the technical staff to board the aircraft as employees of the airline. Parliamentarians have also called for suspension of the Director General of CAN. While the cause of Wednesday's crash must be identified, failure to take action against the airlines and the government officials for violating the airport security mechanism will raise questions against the state. Family members of those killed in the crash of the aircraft of Saudia Airlines have said that they will not receive the body of their family members until compensations are decided. Meanwhile, postmortem of all 18 bodies from the crash has concluded. At the discussion with Minister for Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation Badri Pandey and accountable manager of Saudia Airlines Gopal Bhattrai, family members of those killed in the air crash said that they would not receive the bodies until the issues they have raised are clarified and compensations are decided. They also shared their grievances on the families being informed in the evening despite the unfortunate crash at around 11 in the morning. After listening to the grievances of the family members of those killed, Minister Pandey shared assurances of identifying facts about the crash. He also shared the government commitment of ensuring compensations. Discussions on the demands raised by the family members are to be held with CAN and the representatives of Saudia Airlines today as well. Meanwhile, the Tribhuvan University Teaching Hospital has said that bodies of those deceased will be handed over to the family members from 4 this afternoon. Saying a grave error by the Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal had led to the death of 18 people on board the ill-fated aircraft of Saudia Airlines, which crashed last Wednesday, parliamentarians have recommended suspension of the Director General of the Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal. At yesterday's meeting of the Parliament's International Affairs and Tourism Committee, parliamentarians raised questions regarding allowing non-technical people and a child on board the aircraft, which was being sent to Pokhara for its sea check. Officials of the authority have furnished unconvincing answers and tried to shy away from their responsibilities. At the meeting of the Parliament's International Relations and Tourism Committee, parliamentarians said that the authority had to shoulder the responsibility of allowing non-technical people and a child to board the ill-fated aircraft. The lawmakers said that unauthorized individuals were allowed to enter the aircraft and that the rescue mechanism had been compromised. They also demanded suspension of the Director General of the authority until all facts related to the crash were discovered. Nepali airline service providers have been blacklisted by the European Union for almost 11 years, saying the crash of the aircraft of Saudia Airlines sent an even worse message. The parliamentarians alleged the authority of being the main entity responsible for it. The lawmakers recommended the government to form a separate regulating entity for airline service providers by introducing an ordinance. It was required. Some parliamentarians also expressed concern regarding the conflict of interest of some members of the investigation committee formed by the government. Despite grilling from the parliamentarians, the officials of the authority did not furnish satisfactory answers. The committee summoned the officials of the CAN after 18 people died in Wednesday's crash of the aircraft of Saudi Airlines. After serious discussions at the committee, the issue has also been prioritized by national and international media. As the international media has raised serious questions about Nepal's airports and aviation safety, it has already been late for the Minister for Civil Aviation, Badri Pandey, to hold a press conference to inform and assure the international community about the safety of the aviation sector of Nepal. 3 people have been killed in separate incidents in Chitwan. 2 people were killed and 1 seriously injured when 2 trucks collided head-on at Pateri of Bharatpur Metropolis 1 along the Narangad-Mugling road section in Chitwan. District Police Office Chitwan's spokesperson Bheshraj Rijal informed that the driver of the container truck Pramod Patel of Parsa died at Bharatpur Hospital this morning while undergoing treatment. He also said that the driver of the Indian truck Hehab Tab Alam also succumbed to his injuries while being treated at Bharatpur Hospital. Meanwhile, Chandi Prasad Adhikari of Bharatpur 7, who was seriously injured after being hit by a motorbike last night, succumbed to his injuries while receiving treatment at Chitwan Medical College this morning. 8 people were injured when their house in Jajakort's Kada Gaon in Chande Dargar Municipality 12 was damaged by landslide triggered by incessant rainfall last night. According to Jajakort's Chief District Officer Umakant Adhikari, all the injured are receiving treatment at the District Hospital, Jajarkot. In our Public Voice segment, we have asked people in several provinces why they think has the investigation into the rape and murder of Nirmala Panta not concluded despite the lapse of 6 years. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
प्रायजसो अपराधहरुमा ठूला ठालु व्यक्तिहरुको संलग्नता हुने र त्यसले गर्दा प्रमाणहरु लुकाइने
जो राजनीतिक छत्र छायामा बसेका व्यक्ति हुन्छन् राजनीतिक पहुँचमा हुन्छन् उनीहरुबाट भएको अपराधहरु चाहिँ खासै बाहिर आउने गर्दैन
राजनीतिक दबावका कारण र उनीहरुको संरक्षणमा भइरहेका जुन गतिविधिहरु छन् उनीहरुले विभिन्न संरक्षण पाएको आधारमा यस्ता अझै दोहोरिने पनि सम्भावना देखिन्छ
सरकारको नियम कानुन कमजोर भएको कारणले सबै राजनीतिको खेल जस्तो लाग्छ
सरकारले राम्रोसँग अनुसन्धान नगर्देर
ठुलो मान्छेको मन्त्रीको छोरा भरिजा नाटक होतल भयो सानो मान्छेले त्यसो सानो मान्छे त पुग्रिहान्थ्यो
सरकारले राम्रोसँग अनुसन्धान गर्न सकेन त्यही भएर
प्रमाण नष्ट भइसकेपछि अब त्यो पछि झन जटिल हुँदै गयो त्यही नै हो
अनुसन्धान प्रक्रिया चाहिँ सही दिशातिर नगएर मोडिनुका कारणहरूले पनि
वैज्ञानिक ढंगले अनुसन्धान गर्ने प्रणाली नहुँदाखेरि यो अनुसन्धान धेरै लम्बिएर गयो
राज्यको जुन संयन्त्रहरूले स्वतन्त्र रूपमा चाहिँ छानबिन गर्न नसकेको
निकै माथिल्लो तहमा रहेका व्यक्तिहरूका परिवार अथवा आफन्त त्यसमा संलग्न भएको
यो चाहिँ अब राज्यको नै गल्ती हो किनभने अब यत्रो भइसक्यो 6 वर्ष भइसक्यो अहिलेसम्म एउटा दोषीलाई पत्ता लगाउन सकेको छैन
कुनै व्यक्तिबाट दबाब भएर त्यो दोषी पत्ता लाग्न नसकेको हो
राज्य संयन्त्र जहाँ अनुसन्धान गर्ने क्रममा हो जहाँ अनुसन्धान गर्नुपर्ने हो त्यो बेला राज्य भिड नियन्त्रणकोमा लाग्यो अनि त्यो बेला उले दोषी उम्किन मौका पायो
It's time now for the international update. U.S. President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held White House talks yesterday on an elusive ceasefire to the 9-month-old Gaza war. The White House said the 2 leaders met in an effort to close the remaining gaps in the push for a Gaza ceasefire deal. The meeting came a day after Netanyahu gave a fiery speech to Congress as thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters demonstrated outside. It was the first face-to-face talks for the 2 men since Biden traveled to Israel days after Hamas's October 7 attack and pledged American support. The visit coincides with a shift in American politics. Last Sunday, Biden stepped aside from the U.S. presidential race under pressure from fellow Democrats and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris for the party's 2024 presidential nomination. Biden and Netanyahu later will meet together with the families of American hostages held by Hamas. The two leaders have had strained relations for months over Israel's attacks on Gaza, which have killed more than 39,000 people, according to health officials in the Hamas-run Palestinian enclave, and sparked a humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last night in her ceremonial office at the White House. She voiced serious concerns over casualties in Gaza during her meeting with Netanyahu. The Israeli Prime Minister faces pressure both at home and abroad to bring an end to the Israel-Gaza war. It's now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
Here's the question. What should be done to enhance the capacity of women athletes of Nepal? Your options are A, increase sporting events, B, increase investment, and C, produce more athletes. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. That's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.